Right, so tech and algorithms, an ever-evolving industry that I strongly believe has a high positive correlation to self-awareness. And I'll take you through that. Good afternoon. As a guest speaker, I'd like to believe that you took the liberty to find out who I am, or perhaps know who I am today. But for those of you that don't know, ke nna Boitumelo wa Rametsi, tlo mokhala ka mokhala ka tlo. And I was born here in Johannesburg, and I'd like to tell you a little bit of my journey in the media space, as well as just a space as a model. I'm an alumni at the Vega School of Branding, and I studied the principles of brand communication. And this is just about 10 years ago. I believe a decade is enough space to look back in retrospect and gain high levels of insight on the evolution of how we as people perceive branding and brand building to be. In 2011, the principles of brand building were solely focused on what is building a brand. It was solely focused on the CI, on the design of building a brand. And that also involved a lot of trying to create a high level of consistency or establishing your brand to be taken seriously. And those are the kind of principles that we started off with, and kind of went into a lot more marketing space, which evolved from guerrilla marketing and word of mouth and activations, which was very big at that time. But as I'm saying, that has evolved during the years. So what I'm talking about also involves like just corporate identity. So corporate identity was really what people and brands themselves would perceive as an established brand, and that was then. So in terms of like delivery and point of engagement with your consumers and with your market, it involved a lot of establishing your logo and knowing that your logo is known. Because I remember when I started my brand, which was Be Glam SA, it was more about creating an engaging type of brand that a lot of the market can work with, can engage with, can love to associate themselves with. So be it having photo shoots, being creative, and doing things that people would see only due and great for celebrities to have, and not the everyday type of person. So as mentioned, guerrilla marketing and the word of mouth was seen as the highest and most successful type of reach from when I was still in school and learning about marketing. And in that space, gaining experience within an internship space was actually something that you would aspire to have, because being in school and not having that level of experience was kind of an imbalance. So being able to have a job as well as be in the space of marketing and understanding the spaces, you'd have more of a leverage of understanding what it is that you're really learning about, as well as you'd have like a step forward, a foot in the market, in the sense that you wouldn't be working for free once you graduate out of school. So in that space, my first experience was working in a marketing research company called Interserve Market Research. And at that time, research was more about ground-based type of research. So they would send people out and have scouts that would, go out and question people and basically be the annoying, sorry, can I please ask you a question? Hi, sorry, I just want to speak to you about something. And of course, people don't really like that, but because it's so invasive, intricate, it still got the job done in any case. And at the end of the day, people's expectations, the people being the brands themselves, their expectations and insights and what they wanted to gain out of it, they did get. But on a very light and hoping to trust the audience type of level. Because at that time we had what you'd call LSM research, and this ranked between 1 to 10, where you would ask a consumer, hey, how are you? So what type of household do you live in? How many rooms does it have? How much money do you gain from just income generally as a family? Do you have a washing machine in your house? Interesting question. That would, those types of things gave insight to the lifestyle that you had. And what they really wanted to know as a marketing company is, within a space like this or an area like this, is it worth it to be using our marketing budget, our marketing materials, to be speaking to a certain type of audience, a certain group of people that live in the certain type of demographics that we've come to find that level of insight. So it wasn't as in-depth and intricate as it is right now. So this, my dear friends, is what social media does today. By simply monitoring our behavior on social media platforms, as well as our devices, whether you're online or offline. This all started off with Facebook introducing tagging friends when you're going somewhere and adding and tagging location. I remember the incident of me, a couple of incidents in fact, of me going out with my friends in high school and just having that excitement of being somewhere. First of all, you're going out, which you shouldn't be, the thrill. Secondly, being in a place where there's really, really good lighting and you're going to find the backdrop. So most events at that time really, really invested in having backdrops with really good branding. It needs to be clear as day that you are here. And obviously, like I said, that came from branding and having established yourself. Brands found that having their logos everywhere repetitively would have them be perceived as more established, as well as be taken more seriously. So you finding yourself in association with that brand is by you finding yourself there and making it a point that you're going to be at that event. You're going to snap a photo, put it up on Facebook, and the next day your friends are going to be talking about it. You don't even have to write a status update about it. So I think that's generally where the idea of Instagram was also coming along, because Facebook was really about status updates. Updating your people, the friends that you've created on social media, and saying, hey guys, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'll be up to. But there's some level of authenticity when there's an image involved, proof of life, hashtag, the latest hashtag these days, showing that you are there, and you don't even have to discuss it because my friends see it, and once I tag you, then your friends see it too. So now you have to realize that you've now engaged two different types of audiences, whether it is that it's the same audience because, birds of the same feather flock together, or you have different types of interests and you follow different types of things, so you're most likely to get a bigger reach than what you'd have. Which is, like I just mentioned, that I think this is how Instagram came about, as well as Twitter. And I think these platforms are extremely successful in the sense that they have a unique selling point and they're very focused in what they're trying to do. So Instagram really is about selling now, but it also evolved from just being about putting up your images and stating where you are, tagging your location, and letting know people that this is what you're about, this is what you're doing, and you have a great stellar images from the group of images that you initially had. And Twitter is more about having a communication and letting people know and having conversations more than just about affirming where you are for a certain location, what you're doing, and what you're about. So on Facebook, I used to have a lot of friends. And to put a number to that, I'd say 5,000 friends, which is quite funny because those were not really my friends. But how Facebook was created was to somehow have that level of gratification that somebody accepted your friend request. There's that anxious energy that someone is connecting with you, they're accepting that, and they want to let you in. So it has a very elite type of energy. But I got capped at having 5,000 friends, and I couldn't believe it. And I was like, no, this makes no sense. So I decided to start a fan page. Yes, a whole fan page, because more friends means a better life. So that's how my fan page started along, was because Facebook decided to cap me on having 5,000 friends. And I started finding that I had a lot more engagement on this page, a lot more people that I really didn't know, because some of the 5,000 friends I really did have association with, but it was very close association. So a fan page kind of just spread the audience a bit more. And within that process, I started realizing that there was a bit more engagement and my page was growing, but I didn't really take it too seriously. It was more of an identity situation where it's just like, oh, okay, well, if my friends don't engage with me, then my fans will engage with me, which is also quite interesting and funny, because at that time, celebrities were the people that would have, should have, and been considered as people that would have fan pages. Because, I mean, who am I to have a fan page? I'm just a girl out here, and I'm just like, I love taking pictures, and I just need all of you to see them. Yes, so that was generally the insight and the goal of it all. And when I stumbled into Instagram, which is a bit later than when it started, I started just growing and evolving within myself. As mentioned, within this time, Instagram and YouTube were the ones that were rising around 2012. And I think that was also a place where we were imbalanced, in the sense that we really wanted to be online, and the demographic that I'm talking about is here in South Africa. We really did want to be online. You really wanted to be on YouTube. You really wanted to be just streaming and seeing what is happening internationally, because we also had that idea and perception that we receive a lot of content or anything that is happening internationally much later than it already has happened. So we're quite far behind. But in the nature and the place that we're in, the government or any kind of tech evolution wasn't really implementing the kind of implementation that they're doing now, in terms of having fiber and having free Wi-Fi in a lot of places. And this was happening over 10 years ago in other first world countries, and we're only catching up to that now. So within the midst of that, we're in between trying to catch up as well as trying to slow down, establish, understand ourselves, and see where we're going. So in this space, cyberbullying and catfishing became a real focus, which affected young people that used these products. I remember how they used to highlight the fact that it was important that we take what we put on social media very seriously, because you are in actual fact publishing something as an official documentation, as they strained how hard it is for you to take down anything that you've already posted. So this happened for a while, obviously, because cyberbullying really is a bad thing, and it is a real thing. It happened a lot. There really isn't so much verification on social media in terms of how you can discern between what is real and what is not. But that does not mean that the platforms will stop running. They will continue running, but they are mostly solely focused on how they can protect themselves from the law, for instance, because they really aren't above the law, but then you need to have some level of contractual agreement that you are happy to have this content online. And as to whatever it is that happens going forward with that content is not their fault or their problem. But also in the interim, they also own your content once you put it live or once you put it online. And for me, the general insight is that I think that people were solely focused on the negative and the bad aspects, as per usual, because to this day, we are still talking about how social media is bad and how it impacts society today. But where we have people that have power, force, and have the tools to be creating apps, to be creating brands that are so technologically advanced that they make you want to use them, then where does that put you? Where is the discernment for you? Because you don't stop using the product, so why should they stop selling the product to you? I'm gonna take a breather for a second. So, within that aspect, I'd like to just go into asking the question, how many of us here today download apps And once you've downloaded the app, do you really take a moment to read the pop-up question block that comes up and says, allow this app to have access to all of your photos. Allow your phone to have access to your location. Can we have a show of hands if people actually think about it, or they just click the button? What do you guys do? You just click the button? You don't click the button. But would I be wrong in saying that they somehow create the app in a way that manipulates you to having to say, allow the app? You're giving them license and access to information about you and things that are personal about you because you really, really need to use that app or source or tool or device that they've created. This, in fact, is because obviously these platforms are working hand in hand with Google or whichever digital platforms that are created because they need to do paid ads. They need to keep you online. They need to know what it is that you're doing. They need to know what it is that you're about. So these apps ask questions such as, allow the app to have access to all my images, allow the app to have access to voice recording, and allow app to access your location while using the app. Worst of all, which I can give an example of, is Waze. That one asks you if it can track your location even when you're offline. As tricky as that sounds, it's also quite beneficial in the sense that the app has now created a way for you to schedule your trip prior to having that trip. And it's almost unable to calculate the distance in you traveling or knowing how long it'll take for you to get somewhere and make your life better without knowing where you are exactly. Do you get what I'm saying? Sorry, hold on a second. So today, SEO has definitely evolved. It's not really just about which words are you using on your website so you can get people to come onto your platform or see the work that you do. It's more so about what you do on your phone, because even your software updates today ask you to track your behavior, your insights, and anything that you do across the board of all your apps so that you can use your phone better and so that they can suggest better content to you. Today we also carry devices that convince us that they work better knowing intricate details with what we're doing, so that it better suggests what we're prone to doing and what we're prone to watching. Technology and AI is wisdom with magic. The more you lack discernment in what's real and what isn't defined as success is what is defined as successful. When you have that hesitation, a bit of confusion, but you still go with it anyway. That is exactly what they're looking for. What is real is your perception and your own self-perception, your own reality, what you live by. Technology can easily reflect what you do on a daily basis. So things that I've been constantly asked is, how do you deal with social media, the cyberbullying, or comments that you'd find very unexpectedly? And for me, the response is, I just simply don't engage in it. Within the process of growth and understanding the media space, I've come to realize that the only way to grow really on any social media platform is to use it. They need you to use the app. Without you using the app, they don't have the insight that they need to get. They don't know what your behavior is. They don't know what you're up to. They don't know what they should be suggesting to you. So them having access to all these things gives them the access to the data that they need. I see that a lot of people are very conflicted and worrying about their cell phone numbers being given away to insurance companies or marketing companies and saying, no, they're selling our data, or this is what's going on. But it really isn't the case. You are allowing and giving that data willingly. And they're getting better and better insight on the kind of person that you are and what you're most likely to be doing. The things that you see on your social media or on your phone, the ads that you see, you need to take personal responsibility for seeing those things, because the algorithm is ultimately reflecting exactly what you do, the things that you watch. It measures all sorts of things, to the point of measuring how long you're watching something for, what you repost, the hashtags that you make, and what you do. So how I got to the place that I am today is because I am that person. I'm very digitally advanced. I'm very intrigued with apps. I'm intrigued with what it can do. I'm intrigued with what it's about. I'm intrigued with how I can share what I do and what I'm about on this platform. And for me to reach that place in my life, I had to be very self-aware. I had to understand who it is that I am, what it is that I'm about, what it is that I'd like to be doing on every single day as a daily basis. Because I had reached a point where I'd felt like I was losing my mind in a 9-to-5. And in reality, just looking at that concept in itself, losing your mind really isn't that. It's just that your soul has just detached from the conscious decisions that your brain constantly makes, just like how your algorithm does. Whatever it is that you constantly keep doing will always keep reappearing and reoccurring. Whatever it is that your subconscious knows is everything that your conscious mind has been taking in, all the insights, all the info of, okay, so when you're in this certain environment, this is what you do, this is how you react, this is what you're about. So you need to look at technology, you need to look at social media the way you would look at yourself as a reflection and at your mind. Because in doing that, you're able to detach yourself from what is perceived or to be perceived as an identity of you. Because an algorithm isn't really so far off. As much as we think that what they're portraying to us is what they choose, which is definitely true, because whatever the bot throws up has a huge influence and impact in your future decision-making process. Like, for instance, when you start seeing more ads when it comes to time for voting. The things that you see, the kind of news that you see, those are the types of things that persuade you to making a certain type of decision. And it isn't hard for brands to work with tech and AI companies to make sure that a certain group of people see this type of ad or see this chaos that is happening or are alerted when someone is live about something. It's because they're trying to create an idea for you to have a certain perception. But you can always detach yourself from that. And that's one thing that people seem to detach themselves away from, that level of responsibility. It is your responsibility with your device to start making the changes that you want to see. You should be following things that you want to see and talk about. You should be texting and commenting and doing the certain types of things that you would like your audience and the rest of the people around you to reciprocate towards you. Because that's what algorithm is. It keeps showing you more of what you like, more of what you see. And it also brings it together to how people get hacked on their phones. It is no surprise that you may have been on the dark internet or something was going on. But there's a lot of people that detach themselves from taking responsibility of the things that they see, from having their phones hacked, from whatever ads that they see on their personal platforms. And I think it's really important for us as a generation to understand that it all starts with your high level of self-awareness, understanding who you are and what you're about. And that is exactly how I got to where I am today. It took a lot of self-introspection. It took a lot of surprising things that happened in my life that I least expected, and I had to kind of dissect into my own level of understanding and my own level of perception. It was then that I started to notice, realize that it really is my world. Everybody lives in their own world. And how I live and my way of life is really rooted in the decisions that I choose to make as a person, and then everybody else follows. Everybody else, including the algorithm. So in the space that I am, I'm always using hashtags. I use the platforms. It's always really, really good to engage with the new tools that an app gives you, because within that space, you need to understand that that tool isn't so constrained in an algorithm. For those that don't know, I'd like to just give a breakdown to what an algorithm is, but it's basically set rules on how you can reach a certain level of success, and which is what a lot of marketing people have been selling to a lot of people that have pipe dreams of becoming instantly famous. So what they do is tell you that there's a strategy to this. All you need to do is maybe have a certain number of posts, and maybe some companies even sell you bots, which are just bots that are gonna do the engagement that you're hoping to get from authentic audiences. But the tricky thing with that is that you don't really have a true, authentic, engaging audience. It's just a bunch of bots. And it sells you out and throws you off in instances such as you're not really seen anywhere, but you have a high following. There's lack of engagement, and when you're working with brands as a content creator or digital developer, they need to see some level of insight and monetization that's happening on your back end. So at the point I'm in, I'm very uncertain as to how those results may look, but I don't think they could be tangible or real types of products. And lastly, what I wanted to talk about was how from about 8 years ago, influencers were mostly seen as celebrities and people that already had a following. So you were known for the art that you do, the music that you do, whatever speciality that it is that you already have. Those people would be seen as celebrities, and then those celebrities would be seen as influencers. And then the evolution of how influencers evolved from being celebrities to people that actually built themselves as a brand identity started growing. And that's how Instagram started growing, because people started understanding themselves better, understanding who they are, the message that it is that they're trying to deliver, what service is it that they're trying to deliver. It evolved from just having a lifestyle type of energy, and in that time, the platform was trying something new in how they can bring brands and humans together, because clearly they have an audience. But at that time, people were perceiving Instagram to be the brand that is paying the creators. So when people would see paid partnership, then they'd be like, oh my God, you know, that person is official just because they have a paid partnership with Instagram, which is a very rare case. We've grown to an understanding that obviously Instagram has created and evolved its platform to trying to bring together the influential people as well as the brands. And this must have come from the insight of understanding that, like I mentioned, the focus was on cyberbullying and feeling that a media platform is a place where you need to take seriously, because if you say something about someone, you could be arrested for it. But now it's shifted and moved to a space where every single human being needs to have a high level of understanding that whichever platform you are on is an actual official media platform. This media platform is real. You should see yourself as a big brand. You should see yourself with an audience that you need to respect, that you need to speak to on a consistent and transparent way so that they can trust you better. So when brands want to collaborate with other media influencers, they need to understand that you are basically buying media space. And I think that once new content creators and digital creators realize that, they'll stop the play on doing bartering unnecessarily and making people lose value of their own platform because other media platforms are willing to do free work. But then that is also where the discernment comes in, with you having to understand your brand value, knowing who you are and what you're about. Also having great understanding that if you choose another media platform, that is fine because you're choosing to engage with that specific audience. That audience will never match my audience because my audience are already engaged. They believe in the truth, the transparency of my brand. They understand who I am. And if you want to talk to them, you're going to have to buy and place that media placement. And that's where we are today, where brands are trying to engage with human beings more authentically so because it's more powerful and more memorable when a human being comes and says, guys, this is the brand that I'm using on a daily basis. I love it so much, and. As opposed to seeing an ad on SABC1 that has a model with perfect skin, and they're like, guys, look at me, this is perfect, this is great. Those are two types of audiences, because then you need to understand what it is that you're trying to get at the end of the day. Are you trying to get people that are going to purchase your product or believe in your product, or are you trying to just get people to know about it and see it and create some sort of high-level frequency to your brand identity? So at the end of the day, it really is about the brand in itself being the big brands that have been fully established since way back then, and brands that are establishing, growing, bubbling up at this very moment, for them to understand who they are, to understand what they're about, and also have clear goals in what you're trying to find and aspire yourself to be. And that's about creating that very concrete identity about who you are and what you're about. And once you do that, everything just flows out effortlessly because you become global, you put your work out into the media space, knowing that it's not only specifically for one type of market, but it's for a global type of market. Because in the environment that we were in, we were raised to believe that being international and the Hollywood dream, it's unreachable. But we now find ourselves in a space where even today, you can be sent a DM by Kim Kardashian herself, Beyonce, Jay-Z, because they are so closely connected, and that's what the internet is and what the internet is about. It's about making the global space much smaller than you'd imagine it to be. We're basically breathing the same air online. So if you take your work seriously and you really see yourself doing global work, then you should go into it. Understand who you are, establish who you are as a brand, and start giving it legs. Let yourself walk. Be on the new platforms. Be on TikTok. Be on Instagram. Put your work out. Find people that are expertise in those platforms. You can't always do everything by yourself. But having that broad understanding and spectrum of how the marketing field works today, then you're at greater leverage and greater power, especially if you know who you are. Thank you.